So
Okay, got
yeah,
it.
I was
Cool.
I was recording.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, but that was definitely I was gonna save the talk about your diagnosis with MS to like later, but
Hmm.
since we're on the topic, when did it first happen?
It was August of 2021.
Hmm.
I did an interview with WDET,
Hmm.
and I had just finished, like, I was on a high. Like, I had just put out The Future in June, and I was on the cover of Metro Times, and like we were doing all these shows, and it was just like I was like, oh, I'm manifesting. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm in my element. It's all going great. And
Hmm.
then, I got this interview for WDT on the radio. And so it's a virtual call because it was still, post pandemic. But I didn't realize like my words were slurring. And I was like, God, I talked to my triplet sisters and I'm like, guys, do I sound something going on with my voice? And they were like, nah, you're fine. And I was like, okay. So I do this interview. Then I hop on a flight. My sister's a flight attendant.
Hmm.
So I had been her companion or her spouse
Hmm.
for like a year to 2 years before. And so I would go on with her on trips. So that's how I kind of got to go to different places over in Europe and play over there, was traveling with her. So I went to Paris. And once we got there, she's like, yeah, something's going on. And I'm like, see, I told you. But at that point, like my speech was just really like deep, like it was getting worse and worse.
Hmm.
And so, but she had to get on the flight right back, and I had been planning to stay by myself. So I'm in Paris by myself,
Wow.
wandering around. And I didn't realize this at the time, but MS, one of the side effects is also what we call cog fog.
Mm.
So I was in this, like, I felt like I was in a dream. And then my speech was slurring, and like I didn't realize, but I think part of my face was kind of sagged, like the muscles in my face. So it was very similar, I think, to a stroke in a lot of ways. So I go to Paris and I come back, and by then my mom and my older sister was like, you gotta go to the doctor. It's getting worse and worse. You sound like you're drunk. And I'm like, yeah, I will. And so I went to urgent care, and they were like, yeah, maybe it's dental. I don't know. And I'm like, okay. So after that, I had a show at Willis Show Bar.
Mhm.
And so for that show, I had Anna, who was in Honey Monsoon before she went solo and became Na. And they were playing with us. And so we had a rehearsal right before. So it was my normal band and then Na. And so we get there early to perform, and we start the first song, and I go to start singing, and like first, like my voice just like sounded so weird. It was like nothing felt the same in my, even in my mouth. And so like I said, I studied vocal music before, so it's like I know how it feels, like how it feels in my body to sing, and it was just not, it wasn't coming out right. And I was like, okay, that's weird. So now I was like, okay, um I'm gonna like introduce you and talk in between the songs. And so she really like was a lifesaver that night, because we played two sets that night still while I was like falling apart. And she was like, get up for Dani Darling. And like when we were like harmonizing, she's like singing really loud. So it was like we powered through that set. And then after that, I went to the hospital the next day, and they were like, you need an MRI and you need to get all that metal out of your hair. I don't know if you know, I used to wear all these beads in my hair.
I do.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I had all these beads in my hair, like hundreds of beads, Antonio. And they were like, you need to take all, if you have any metal in your hair, it will set fire. And I was like, oh my
Oh
God.
my God.
So it took me hours. I went in at like 1 p.m.
Mhm.
and I think they were rolling me into the MRI by like midnight that night.
Oh my
And I
God.
was taking out the last bead. Like it took me that long. My arms were like feeling like they were going to fall off. And so I did the MRI. And by the time I even got back to my bed in triage, there was a doctor waiting for me to tell me I had like multiple sclerosis, but they were really concerned because it was this weird, they thought it was a tumor because it was so large and wasn't like normal multiple sclerosis. So I got admitted and I had to stay for like a week. And yeah, it was crazy. The thing is, U of M is so amazing because they figured out my treatment, they figured out what it was, and got me right within a week. And I've been on treatment since then. I get chemo every 6 months, a certain like chemo to suppress my immune system, because basically it's my immune system that's attacking my brain
Mhm.
and causing brain damage.
Oh
So
my
that's essentially what's happening, is that is she's too hyped. So we have to quiet down that immune system, but now it makes me kind of more prone to get sick and stuff now too. So it's just been
Oh,
a lot. It's a lot of adjustment. So after that, doing music was um it was a lifeline, really, because like still practicing with my band every week and everything. um you don't realize until it goes away, because we stopped in like October, and that's when like everything started to kind of hit me this past like fall and winter. And I realized that I really had to get back to doing music, because otherwise I was like kind of sinking. So these songs that I'm working on now are very like personal. And I think I've been like kind of like worried about like writing songs, and then I like sat down and I was like, wait, I have all these songs written already. I've been writing them and I didn't realize it. So I think now it's just finishing up what I started and getting this next EP out hopefully by summer. So
oh man. So
yeah.
first question, how are you doing health wise right now?
I'm doing a lot better than I was over Christmas and
Mhm.
everything. I think I still have good days and bad days. Like some days I still get like cog fog, or I can't remember things, or I lose my train of thought, or fall over my words a little bit. But then other days are good days. And I work with teens, like I said. So they really kind of give me a boost for sure with their energy. Every time I walk in, they're like, Danny, and they want to tell me about their boyfriends and all that stuff. So I think I have a lot of good days just because of the energy here at Neutral Zone too. And so yeah, I think hopefully on a better road now, and looking forward now at least to a summer of doing more shows and releasing music and getting back to feeling like myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is,
Mhm.
I'm glad that you're doing better.
Thank
Um,
you.
and first off, since this will be posted to my YouTube, I feel like I should have given you a proper introduction. I feel like we got straight into it.
Okay. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those watching, I am honored to interview the wonderful, the talented, the downright beautiful Miss Dani Darling.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No applause necessary.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for asking me. And thank you for yeah, just for this conversation and opportunity. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, regarding your music, like I said, project, the last project that you put out was The Future, which
Hmm.
was just an absolutely amazing album. Is
Thank
there
you.
like a concept that you have for this next project that you're looking to put out?
I think this next project, I think it's not going to be the same where I have like a, like, I think The Future was very imaginative,
Mhm.
and it was very much like me like going into like what I felt like was an expression of being cooped up because of the pandemic.
Mhm.
So for this one, I think it's going to be less themed that way and be more sorry, can you hear those drums?
No, no.
Okay. um and I think it's going to be more about songs that are personal to me,
Mhm.
you know, and from the heart.
Okay.
So yeah.
And I'd imagine the band will be a part of this as well.
I'm sorry.
I'd imagine the band will be a part of this as well. A lot of
Yeah. And then some of it, when I first started, I was doing a lot of production on my own.
Mhm.
So I think it's going to be a little bit of a mix, because I think there's some things that I didn't do with The Future that I did with some of the earlier things
Mhm.
um, that I might circle back to.
Okay, cool. Speaking of the band, you mentioned you guys have been together for quite a long time. How long has it been?
We started in 2018.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Um, yeah, 2018. And there's been some personnel changes and things like that, but um, yeah, we've been together for a while. And the thing is we all kind of have our own little separate
Mhm.
um musical lives and aspirations. So but they've really been amazing and been like a support for me through everything. So yeah.
That's pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
regarding the next project, do you have like a lead single that you're going to put out or something that you're leaning towards?
Yeah, I think there's a song Bossa that I play in my set. It's like a bossa nova song. And we've been playing it for years,
Mhm.
but we've never recorded it. So I think the fact that we finally like it's been a song that's been evolving for all these years. So I think the cool thing will be people hearing a song that they've heard me perform, but like in the way that like it was actually intended. And it's got so many more like surprises and flourish to it. So I think that's going to be probably the leading single. And I think it's kind of like probably like my kind of big bold song, kind of like La Femme was with The Future will be Bassa.
Oh, nice. All
Yeah.
right, so this is kind of like a very interesting question, because you touched on it a little bit from last project to this project regarding concept. Um, what was the question I was about to? Oh, yeah. What have you learned from last project to this project? Has there been like a learning process that you've gone through?
Yeah, I think well, try to switch from Ableton to Logic, so that's one thing software wise. And then also I think I've kind of like learned like how like the shaping of the production of a song. Um like I can write a song with my guitar and have like the lyrics, the melody, the chords, but then it's like what is the vibe or the style of the song like? It could be like a kind of like a rock edge to it, or it could be very like close up and feel very R&B. So like just like the way that different styles can inform, like the same song can be done so many different ways with how you record it, what your intention is. I think that's what I've kind of leaned into and been playing with a little bit more lately.
Mhm. Yeah, that's one thing that I've noticed about your music is that the musical emotion that you're able to convey with you have such a wide array that you're able to put out there with each song. I'm more curious about what direction you're going to go to with this new album,
Yeah.
like just the
So
overall environment.
I think the thing that I really loved about the future was like some of the string arrangements.
Hmm.
So I really like the string. So I want to kind of do more. Still do we're doing more of that. And then also like if I think of a time period like this last project was very like 70s, like um psychedelic, funkadelic, some like proggy rock in there, but it was all very kind of in that same kind of area of time.
Hmm.
And I think for this next one, I think there's um some of the like kind of cinematic 60s type music that I really like. So I wanted to have more and I think it's also a more emotional topic to me being like feeling like closer to the edge of like, existence really, or like feeling those like scary moments where I don't know where what's going to happen or if I'm going to be okay. So it's like more deep um themes that I'm talking about. So I kind of want even more emotion if that's possible. So I think more strings, more I think more emotion and definitely I think more of a cinematic feel to
Hmm.
it. So
All right, cool, cool. So, as an artist, what would you, well, I don't know if you've even planned this out yet. What is your goal for this year as an artist? Do you have any like specific goals that you're after?
Just to finish another project, really, and then to record, finish, and then to keep doing shows and things like, I think there's other new artists coming out and I'm like, they ain't sick of me yet. So like I think if I can get, I think now I'm kind of more grateful for like every little new thing. So I think more shows and more another project is really, I think, finish that and then go from there. Cause I think ultimately, I don't know, I'm getting older. I'm kind of an old lady, Antonio. So
Oh,
I'm
Lord.
getting older. Like, so I don't know. I don't know what will happen after that, but I think my goal is just to make it to the next one.
Hmm.
So
And I just had two more questions. What challenges do you face when making new material?
I think like I said, like my confidence has been hard, but that wasn't something I had before. So
Mhm.
it's like a new Danny.
Yeah.
So I think I think that's been my challenge. And then also, I don't know, like it takes a lot to put into a project.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of help from like the Amplify Fellowship with the last one. So I think the thing will be like doing it again on my own, going back to doing everything on my own. Like it takes a lot. Like I do my own publicity and stuff, which, so I think those kinds of things are always kind of a big effort. I wouldn't say it's obviously a challenge to a certain extent, but it's just it's a lot, and it's a lot of focus, time, intention that goes into it. So I think that's just really what kind of like you have to gear up for it.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. And yeah, you said you're doing everything by yourself. Are you doing the production as well? Like along
Yeah,
with
like so I record and I do my own like production.
Mhm.
Like I don't know if you've heard some of my older projects like Mage.
I'm not yeah,
Um
yeah.
yeah, so those I kind of like I start out with the song and I record it, and then I just start like the thing about Ableton is like I'll just be up all night working on like
Yeah.
tinkering with things and then come up with something and be like, oh, that's cool, but how did I do that? So I think yeah, there's quite a bit of self-production that has gone into my previous stuff. So I think the way that it will work this time, last time we did like a big long um the future came out of like an all night jam session
Oh,
on New Year's Eve.
yeah.
So we were jamming all night. And so at the end of the night, I had like 6, 7 hours of music. And so called Taylor that next day and I was like, oh my God, how are we going to how am I going to pull out songs from all of this like jam? And he's like, you can do it, you can do it. So I just started like breaking it up into parts and pieces and then just taking snatches and writing to it and then kind of fixing it and doing things like that. So um, it was very much like off of that jam session, whereas this one will be more intentional where like I start with like the production stuff that I used to do and
Mhm.
then take it to like the live band to what happens out of that. So it's kind of like a backwards process again this time.
Mm, nice.
Yeah.
All right. And my last question, is there anything else that you want to put out there to the world? Let everybody know.
Um, I think just that like hopefully like this project and like even my story will like encourage people that like the thing I've really focused in on is resiliency.
Mhm.
And that's like when bad things happen to you, when horrible things happen, or you're faced with huge challenges, like resiliency is that thing that keeps you going through it, and that keeps you kind of pushing through it to be stronger out of it. And I think you know it's an important thing, and it's hopefully people will be encouraged that you know everyone can be resilient. You have to ask for help when you need it. You have to care for yourself and love yourself and keep trying, even though, when things get hard. My last single was called Trying, and it's like really about, just keep, that next step is important, each little step. So I think that's kind of what I'm hoping that like gets across. And of course there'll be like a celestial cosmic element because I'm an astrologer. So I think just yeah, I love my fans and I hope that they are ready for just more dreamy cosmic Dani stuff.
All right, that is all I have. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you. And let me know about the April, the recording. I've got kind of a slower April than March.
Mhm.
Oh, that's another thing. I have a show coming up at Ziggy's.
Oh,
Yes, and that's on the 20, wait, 26th.
oh, nice.
Yeah, and then I have another show on the 28th
Mhm,
at North Star Lounge in Ann Arbor. So I've got two shows, big shows this month.
mhm,
And then April, I'm kind of just finishing up like music stuff, like the recording and hopefully doing the AADL
mhm.
project with you. So yeah.
Nice. And I actually have to interview people from the North Star Lounge in like 30
Oh,
minutes too.
well, tell them I said hey.
I will. I will. All right, let me just stop recording and thank you very much.
Absolutely, Antonio. Talk to you soon.
All right, absolutely. Well,